Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show for NFL Week 7. Of course, this is a show where we talk with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook, about all the notable betting action that he's seen over the week. This week, NFL Week 7, some interesting stuff. We're going to hear, Brent, how the public and the Sharps have reacted to the various circumstances that are presenting themselves in NFL Week 7. The Packers, their first game without Aaron Rodgers, the Falcons and the Patriots Super Bowl rematch. So some big games this week. Brent from BetDSI, thanks for being back with us.
Glad to be with you, Peter, as always.
And once again, if you don't already know, there is a promo code attached to this show, Weekend25, for new accounts at BetDSI. Use the promo code Weekend25, and you'll get an extra $25 free play. All right, so Brent, let's talk about the Saints-Packers game, a heavily debated and discussed game all week long. We know that you've told us that the Sharps have favored the Saints multiple weeks this year, and the Saints are off of 3 straight big margin covers. We have seen some up and down line movement on this one. It opened at 4, got bet up to 6, now back down to 4. I'm wondering if any of that line movement was driven by the by sharp action.
Yeah, no, I don't have sharps on this one. I do actually have, a wager count that slightly favors Green Bay. It's a tough spot. Like a guy like Rodgers, I mean, how much value do you put to him being out? And it's not only like him being out, it's, his replacement. Okay, well, what's that to a number? And obviously, it's one of those games where you've got New Orleans who won, I think, like 3 in a row. So they're on a bit of a roll, and they're typically a team that puts a whole lot of points on the board. Green Bay used to be one of those teams. So, I mean, the side and total are both kind of interesting spots. This number did open at like 5.5 and got bet back down, got bet back up, and now we're sitting at 4 again. So, I've got under action, just a wager count going under almost like 3-1. The line really hasn't moved at all on the total at all, but that's could be just like kind of like a public overreaction to, Rodgers being out. So I'm still getting decent action both ways in terms of dollar volume on the totals. We haven't budged on that, but a strong wager count in terms of the under. And again, on the wagers on the side, my wager count slightly favors Green Bay, like around 4-1. So yeah. I'm just sitting at 4 right now. So it seems to be working for us. And again, it's tough, I think, as the day comes in, we're going to see a lot more action on this one. I don't have any sharps involved. And again, it could be a spot where you're talking to the sharps themselves. They're not sure how to evaluate the number, and they haven't seen enough of the replacement for Rodgers yet to see, what he's going to do with that offense. I mean, they obviously have a lot of weapons, across the board, but what he can do with them, we'll find out.
All right. Yeah, we'll see where this line closes. I mean, if this line closes back up close to like 5.5, or if it drops down to 3, do you think that'll be indicative of clear, sharp action driving that?
Sorry, repeat that, Peter. You cracked out for a second.
If we see clear, sharp action on this, if we see a clear line move by kickoff on this one, either back up to 6 or down to 3.5 or even 3, can we assume that is sharp action that drove that, or can we assume that's like big public action?
Yeah, I would say either way. I mean, we talk about games like this, and it's almost kind of like an assumption, which is erroneous, that the sharps get involved on every game, at this point that I don't have any sharp guys involved, it could be just enough public action coming the other way, like on Green Bay, for example. Like I do have my wager count slightly favoring them, and my money slightly favors the Packers as well. So, I mean, if no sharps get involved and you keep getting public money one way, you are going to move off it until they surface. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes they don't surface at all. So it's kind of like you kind of pace yourself in terms of line moves, especially early in the week.
Okay, and now let's talk about the Super Bowl rematch, the Falcons and the Pats. And of course, this is not a situation where it's a Super Bowl rematch and both teams are coming in playing great football. The Falcons, of course, lost outright as a double-digit favorite to Miami last week. I'm assuming that was a great result for the books, and a lot of public guys got burned on that one. And also the Pats, as we know, the public loves to bet the Pats every week, and they're only 2-4 ATS this year overall. So both teams come into this game kind of questionable as far as their against the spread results are concerned. There was some pretty clear early strong movement on the Falcons. It opened at about 4.5. Now it's down to 3.5 or 3. But since it went down to a 3.5 or 3, not much market movement, but clear early movement favoring the Falcons. Was that early sharp action on the Falcons at 4.5?
No, it was just, early respectable action, I'm going to say, on the Falcons. Not even a pseudo sharp guy, but money you respect for sure that came in on Atlanta. Could be just bigger bets. Not necessarily guys who are going to, win long term, but guys who are like not, not square. We'll put it that way. That's pretty much, at least from my side of the coin, that's what I got at the 4 on Atlanta. I don't have any sharp action per se. No list guys involved in this game. Even the my wager count is actually, it's real close on this game. And again, I think it's probably going to tilt towards New England. I think I'm going to get more money that way in terms of both my wager count and my money. And again, just Atlanta, I mean, I don't know. They just the last couple of weeks, I mean, they've lost 2 in a row and they just don't look very good. And obviously New England at home is obviously a very strong position. The total too, I mean, you've seen this total go up, and basically it's just public money so far on this number. It opened up. I opened up at 54. We're sitting at 56.5 right now. My wager count from the total is almost like 4-1. So that's quite strong in terms of wager count favoring the over. But in terms of, money, obviously my money's that way. But the side itself, no, it's just like that one early hit kind of on Atlanta, and that's kind of we're sitting at. I mean, we're 3 minus 120 right now. I could probably be 3.5 or 3.5 dog 15, and that number would work as well. So we did get bet down. And again, I haven't, I kind of expected to see some sharp money at where we are right now, 3 minus 120 or on New England. I haven't seen it yet. So we're just kind of waiting in the wings.
Okay, and then the third game I want to ask you about is Seattle and the Giants, and this is a very interesting line movement situation. We've seen a huge line move here in favor of the Giants. Giants, of course, off of a shocking win at Denver last week, which I'm assuming was another great result for the books, and another game where the public was all over Denver in terms of the side and teasers, and got burned on that one. And actually, didn't you tell us that the sharp action came in on Denver as well last week?
Yeah, that was one of those games where I had just like, it's kind of like a perfect storm the way that set up for us, in the fact that we had a good weekend for sure, and I did have ton of action on Denver. And again, because people kind of had lost money during the day, you kind of get that last game of the day. Now, people who had done well are kind of like, well, I'm going to watch the game anyway, so I may as well play it. So they were betting Denver. And then people who had lost maybe want to catch up a little bit. They were like, well, I'm going to watch the game anyway, so I may as well get involved in that. They bet on Denver as well. I mean, how could you back the Giants, right? So we had just a ton of money. It was like I'm not going to say a perfect storm, but it was one of those cases where people who were up or down were all betting that game, trying to get back or play a little bit with the book's money, and they were all on Denver. So that was a massive decision for us. No, I mean, I didn't have Denver as a sharp play last week, if that's what you're trying to box me into that corner, Peter.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I was confusing that with Atlanta. Atlanta was the big double-digit favorite that you told us you took a sharp action on last week.
Yeah, we took Atlanta and the under in that game, so it went 1-1, Peter. Don't just
right. Right. Okay, so this week we have seen a huge move here on this game. It opened at like 7, 7.5, even 8 at some places, quickly got bet down to 6. And then since then, it's been slowly getting bet even further down to 4.5, 4, and I even saw 3.5 right before we started shooting this show. So a ton of money coming in on the Giants. Is that all public action, or is that repeated sharp bets? What's driving this line so far in the Giants' favor?
It's not public action, that's for sure. I might, we've got, pretty much one-sided action towards favoring Seattle. Again, it's not a crazy count, but it is kind of leaning that way. Not the volume on this game isn't crazy high. And again, part of that could be with, people just not knowing what to do with it. It's one of those tricky spots. I mean, you've got, Giants at 1-5. It's like, I mean, how good are they? But they obviously had that huge win last week, and maybe they're, are they going to build some momentum off that? Who knows? It was a massive win for them, but it still doesn't hide the fact of all the injuries concerns they've had and the receivers and stuff like that. Their tight end looks like he's real good, and just if we'll see if Manning can do much with it. But the other thing too is you also have that kind of travel factor that people look at in terms of West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast to play this game. And this game's a later game as well. So Seattle add the Giants down to 4. Finally you tipped on one of those games where I actually do have sharp action. I took sharp action here on the Giants at plus 6.5. Now, I wasn't one of those guys who open up at 7.5 or 8 that you might have mentioned. We did open at 7 and get back down, bet back down, and we're 6.5 is where I got that sharp action. Yesterday, I think this number was around 4.5. And now we're back down to 4. So pretty much one-sided action. And again, it's got to be sharp action that's driving that, more so than just the 6.5 I took. I'm sure the sharps will probably get the Giants at plus 6 as well. I doubt they hesitated that way. So I count just slightly favor Seattle, but I do have more money, obviously, because of the sharp action on the Giants.
Okay, so one sharp play, one clear list play that we have identified so far is the Giants at 6.5. That number, of course, is not even close to being available anymore. Sharps did well last week, 4-2. They're 8-3 over their last couple weeks. Had a great year in the NFL so far. What can you tell us about notable action for the rest of NFL Week 7, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, NFL action, I'm surprised. I think this week, I mean, this season 4, from what I got on my board, he was like 3-2, 3-2, 4-4, 4-2, 4-1, 4-2. I mean, it's real strong NFL action so far this year in terms of how the Sharps have done. And it's kind of like no surprise. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, the NFL is the hardest thing to beat. I don't think so. I think because of the public is so involved in NFL games, it's just as easy, not as easy to beat, but people are likely to win in those games as they are in anything else. The college action, for example, you just don't have the public affecting numbers as well. So if you got public going against Sharps, you get maybe a little more line movement than you might see in a college football game, and that kind of benefits the Sharps, and that might be why they've done so well. Touching on the top game again, the Tennessee at Cleveland. Every now and then, we go through seasons and Cleveland, you kind of expect the Sharps to come out on Cleveland. You see them every now and then grabbing like double digits of points and stuff like that with Cleveland, but it's been a while since we talked about sharp action on Cleveland, I think. And this time, I don't have any sharp action on the side. I do have sharp action on the total. This is Tennessee at Cleveland. On the under 46.5 is where that came. Sitting at that, there's numbers all over the board on this one. I think there's like a 46 out there. There's a 45 out there. 45.5 out there is what we're using as well. But under 46.5 is where I got the first sharp action on this one. That's Tennessee at Cleveland. Side for you is Minnesota. Minnesota's at home to Baltimore. Minnesota is like a 5.5, 6 point favorite right now. And I got sharp action on Minnesota -4.5. So the Vikings at home 4-2. Baltimore is kind of one of those sneaky teams. They're 3-3, and I guess like that whole division with them is just not it's not really they're not really separating themselves very well. Those teams. Pittsburgh's at 4-2. Baltimore is 3-3. Cincinnati, who's looked horrible, is sitting at 2-3, and they're not really out of it. So Baltimore's 3-3 and right in the thick of things. But I do have sharp action on Minnesota, as I mentioned, at -4.5. We have another one of those London games. This one is not super early in the morning, thankfully. That's Arizona versus the LA Rams. I got to keep getting used to saying the LA Rams. And I have sharp action on the Adrian Peterson-led Arizona Cardinals. The sharp action came in on them, +3.5, -105. So, that's kind of key that the -105 is a detail you want to know, because the -05 and -110, that stuff will add up long term. But Arizona +3.5, -105 is where I got sharp action on this one. Right now, we have the Rams -3, -115. So we're down to the number 3. I also have money on the total of this one that came at the under 47.5. Now we're sitting at 45 right now. I know yesterday the number was 46, so it's even dropped down more since then. So under 47.5 is where the first sharp bets came in. 46 is where we were yesterday, sitting at 45 right now. So this total seems to be in a steady decline. And Giants, we talked about that one already. And last one I got for you, we're going to talk about the aforementioned Denver Broncos. That is where I've got 2 list guys, Peter, not 1, but 2. Denver +2 and +1 is where I took sharp action on the Broncos. They are at the LA Chargers, not the San Diego Chargers, LA Chargers. So Denver +2 and +1. And unfortunately for me, I have a wager count of almost like 6-1 favoring the Broncos. So I got a whole lot of public action on the Broncos. I got sharp action on the Broncos. And I'm hoping Peter takes the rubber band off his bankroll and bets the other way.
No way. I was leaning Denver in that one myself. I've pretty much been fading the LA teams at home, no matter who they're playing. Feels like they're going to be overvalued at home all season long. Brent from BetDSI, thanks so much. Again, the bonus code is weekend25 for brand new accounts at DSI Sportsbook. Brent, we'll talk to you next week for NFL Week 8.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.